The question manager for MyProcare can be found on the main screen of Family Data and Accounting in the MyProcare menu option. You can get to the question manager in the configuration wizard. However, it has been separated out so that if you're not a system supervisor, you can still access the questions, make corrections, changes, add or remove. You don't have to be a system supervisor to work with the questions for the registration form. In the question manager, you'll see you have two levels of questions. You'll have some account questions and some child questions. There'll be different types of questions, however, they are set up exactly the same way. We'll start with the account. The first time you come in here, your list of possible questions may be very short. That just means they have not been exposed to MyProcare. You can choose to use tracking items or user-defined fields or a combination of both. You can add new or change what something says by clicking Edit Tracking or Edit User Defined in the lower left corner. The difference between a tracking item and a user-defined field is the type of field that you can create. A tracking item is going to be a multiple choice list. They can choose one or more options from the list. A user-defined field will allow you to add a text field, a date field, true, false, number field, a different type of field that the family can enter information on your form. When we click Edit Tracking, it will open the Global Tracking Items list. If you see something in this list that you want to use in your questionnaire, but you don't see it on your list of possible questions, all you need to do is click the question and say Expose. It will expose it to the same regions you're exposed to, and you'll see that when you exit as a possible question. If you need to add a new question, you'll just create the tracking group name. We'll tell Procare, is this a single item or a multi-item, meaning can they choose one item in this list or do they have the ability to choose more than one? And then we're going to enter a tooltip text. The tooltip text is where you want to define the question that you're actually asking your family. If you do not enter something in the tooltip text, all they're going to see is the tracking group name, which may not explain to them what you're asking. You don't want them to be confused, so you want to use the tooltip text to clarify the question. Once you've created the new item, you'll click Save, and Procare will ask you where you want to expose this to. I'm just going to go ahead and expose it to both of my locations and save and exit. Now that it's been saved and exposed, I can click the small plus mark and I can add my responses under the item names. Tab through to get a new blank line, and you can add as many responses as you want. Something to keep in mind, if you are going to make this a required question on your registration form, you need to have an option that applies to everybody regardless of the situation. We'll talk a little bit more about that on the child level questions. I'm going to save and exit. And now I see my new question added to my list of possible questions. You can add the questions to your registration form by highlighting them and using the blue arrow to move it over, or you can remove questions by using the left-facing arrow to move them back. You can choose to add as many questions as you want to, and I always say don't worry if it looks like your registration form is possibly getting a long list of questions, because if they were not doing this online, they'd be doing it on paper, which would be more time-consuming overall. I'm just going to add a few questions for today's purposes. You can use the green arrows in the lower center to change the order of the questions if you'd like, and you can use the preview button to view what it's going to look like for your families. Keep in mind that your preview screen is going to show a single list of questions. However, if your family is on a normal computer screen, it will divide that list into two lists of questions. I'm going to click Save and Exit. Back on the MyProcare Question Manager screen, now I'm going to click Child, and we'll look at some of the child questions. Again, you can use a combination of tracking items and user-defined fields, and you can add new by clicking Edit Tracking or Edit User-Defined in the lower left corner. And if you already have items exposed, you can add them by using the blue arrows. Again, if you have something you're going to make a required question, such as allergies, you want to make sure that there's an option that applies to everybody, such as none or other. The reason for that is MyProcare will not let them submit the form if they've skipped a required question, and you don't want them to enter false information just to get past that requirement. I'm going to choose a couple of questions to add to the child level here. And I'm going to combine user-defined fields to add a text field as well. Again, you can change the order of the questions using the green arrows, and you can preview what the questions will look like. You'll tell ProCare if these are required questions or not required. And then save and exit. That is how you set up the questions for your registration form.